Have you ever felt like you failed with no way forward? Well, consider this. Where you think you failed is a setup for something greater in your life. But here's the key. You have to have faith that that statement is true. And by changing your perspective, it might change your life and it might change somebody else's. Josh, have you ever felt like you failed in your life before?
Growing up, I felt like a lot of failures. Like I made a lot of failures. And until I changed my life and changed my perspective on things and started viewing things in a different light, I did. I felt like a failure. But what I've learned, not only in my recovery, but in my walk with God, is that we never fail. There's no such thing as failure. What there is life lessons that continue to happen, and we have to grow from those life lessons.
So really kind of growing from your experiences and knowing that, look, there are going to be things in our life that we encounter where it might be just a redirection.
Absolutely.
Right? And maybe give you more perspective on the things that how you're viewing things in life, what you're doing in your life, and it might be just an overall reset.
It is. You're right. And you said it, though, perspective. The key to changing everything is changing your perspective. Sorry, I like words. They're tricky today. So if you change your perspective, it changes your view on it. If you can change your view on it, it changes the outcome. Something my kids will tell you that I have beat into their heads is never act off raw emotion. Because when we act off raw emotion, bad things tend to happen. Because our ego, our temper are both inflamed, and we decide to go at something head on, and it turns it to garbage generally.
And I think our emotions sometimes lead us to the fact that we think that's the end of the story.
Yes.
And it's not the end of the story.
It's the beginning usually.
Well, that's it. That's the thing, too. Like I said earlier, it's a seed to growth, and it's a seed to something greater in your life, if you can have that perspective.
Yep.
Now, it's hard to pull out of that.
But like you said, it's a seed.
Yeah.
It's a seed to growth. So what do we have to do to a seed? We don't just plant a seed and walk away, do we?
No.
We have to plant, we have to cultivate, we have to plant, we have to groom, we have to weed, we have to fertilize. We have to grow that seed. And if we're not planting and growing into ourselves, then what are we doing?
But let me ask you this. When you have viewed yourself as a failure in your life historically, again, you don't have that perspective now, neither do I.
But I remember it very vividly.
But where did that take you?
It took me to the dark place.
And what were you doing? Like, were you, for me, I just withdrew. I was basically curled up in a ball on my couch for months, literally.
See, and for me, I just became a very big introvert.
So you did the same thing, really.
In a sense, instead of sitting on a couch, I was still outside, going out, venturing around, but I wasn't viewing the world from the glass half full. I was viewing the world from the glass half empty. And when you're viewing the world from the glass half empty, your perspective is always a negative perspective.
So you really had no faith?
None. Zero. I lost my faith in God a long time ago.
What about yourself? Losing faith in yourself?
I lost faith in myself long before I lost my faith in God. That's the scary part, is I lost faith in myself, then I lost faith in God, and then I stayed down in that dark pit of despair.
And it's interesting because I think some people that are watching this video right now, I know maybe you don't believe in God, maybe you don't believe in yourself.
And that's fine. Hold on. I want everybody to know, I don't care if you believe in God. I care if you believe in a greater power than yourself. I don't care if that is cup. I don't care if it's table. I don't care if it's another being on this earth. As long as you look towards something greater than yourself, you will slowly develop. Period. That's it. That's how we got where we are. That's how the men that we know and the people that we know got where they got, was by serving into others and looking at things from a different lens.
So here's a question for you. It's going to be a hard one for you.
Oh boy.
But when you didn't have the faith in yourself, where did you go? And
that's a great question. I don't know. Where do you go? For me, I went to a dark place. For me, I wallowed in my own self-pity. For me, my energy levels were down. Everything went downward because I was looking at things from the wrong view.
I've been there before.
I was looking at, oh, poor me, and
that's right.
And wow, I'm so sad, and these things all happened to me. Not, wow, I did this, I created this, I have to take responsibility for it, and I have to do something about it, because if I don't, this is where I stay.
That's right. Yeah, we don't want you to stay there. We did stay there for a period of time. I know I was there for probably maybe a year, 6 to 8 months. But it really, and I would tell you, I stiff-armed my faith, or having faith in myself. I stiff-armed my friends, and I stiff-armed my family, the 3 Fs. All the things that I needed to pull out of it, I stiff-armed.
The 3 things you need in your life to keep moving forward with a positive attitude. You literally threw it to the side and went, well, I can do this on my own. I'll be fine.
Yeah, but having faith in the pit is really the key. So, I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Everything starts, there's a beginning and an end to everything.
Right, and you can begin right where you are today. If you're feeling like a failure or you failed, try to find the faith in your life to pull you out of it. That is the antidote to pulling out of your current suffering. Again, I've been there before, but again, I had to work at getting to where I am today. To even, to shoot this video and talk about kind of, the struggles
absolutely.
in our life, right? But it took me a lot of effort, but I had to take one baby step at a time to get there.
It takes a long time to change that perspective. It does. Because you're set in your old ways. You're thinking the same way you used to. It takes someone coming in, smacking you in the face with it, and giving you a hard reset.
Sometimes,
For us.
I mean,
I'm stating what happened for us.
yeah,
For
I mean,
me,
you gave me a hard smack here a few years ago.
yeah, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. For some of
Yeah.
us, we learn it's not necessarily the hard way, but we just learn a harder way.
Well, because I called Josh when I was really struggling and depressed, anxious, or I didn't have the faith, and he kind of gave me a slap across the face and said, "Man, look at all the great things in your life. Really, you're going to focus on that?" He said it in a different way than that.
A very, very different way than that.
But I will tell you that because of those words and those comments, it gave me perspective on, okay, I need to just get up,
Yeah.
right? Get up.
Get up and start doing something. Because if I keep sitting here, all I'm doing is staying idle. By staying idle, all we do is sit right there where we were. We aren't moving forward. We're not moving backward. We're just wallowing in self-pity.
Well, and here's a biblical perspective, right? So the story about Peter,
Okay.
right? You know the story about Peter, where he denied Christ 3 times.
He pushed Christ away, not
Yeah.
once, not twice, but even a third time when he came to him,
Exactly.
he's like, no, I don't need you.
But here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. If you go to the book of Luke, I think it's chapter 32, verse 32, Jesus tells Peter that he's going to deny him. And Peter says, "No, I'm not." And you know what Jesus said? "Peter, I'm praying for your faith." Now, here's the thing. He knew that Peter was going to deny him. Why was he praying for his faith? He wasn't praying for his faith before he denied him. He was praying for his faith after, because he didn't want him to wallow in sorrow and pity for himself
Exactly.
forever. And here's the crazy thing. You know what he said after that? He said, "I'm praying for your faith." And he goes, "When you return to me," you know what he said? "Go strengthen your brothers." So what does that tell you about pulling out? What does that mean when we pull out? Where do we need to go?
If you want to pull out of this, you need to serve into something
That's
greater
right.
than yourself.
And it's probably somebody else.
Something greater than yourself. I don't care what it is. Again, I said
Yeah.
it earlier. Table, cup, I don't care. Serve into something greater than yourself. Once you find something greater than yourself to serve in, your perspectives start changing because you're starting to view, wow, I don't know how I'm going to make rent this month. But then you go serve into others and you find out there's others out there who don't even know where their next meal is coming from. And you're going, wait a minute. I have food. I have a car.
That's right.
I have ways to get places. My life
right.
really isn't that bad compared to this other person I'm trying to help and serve into. Wow.
That's shifting your perspective.
It is. And even you helped me shift mine. When you came to me and asked for my help, I'm not going to lie. It boosted my ego. It did. Because I'm sitting here going, who is this guy to come ask me for help? Me? Why would he ask me?
Because you were one of the biggest overcomers of things in your life that I knew and had encountered. I mean, I was just like so drawn to you for your perspective, and again, the fact that you slapped me in the face a couple times, to kind of get me back to where I was. And again, I had a lot of people that were kind of leaning in when I was kind of in the pit, but your perspective was a different one because you were just so real and like candid, like, all right, I got to get up. I just need to get up. And I mean, taking that little baby step, I mean, that is
It changed
one-
everything for you.
Yeah.
It did.
Yep.
After our conversation, so to give you guys a quick little setback here, when he was in his dark place, he came to me and asked me if I would go on a men's retreat weekend to a prison. He asked me if I would be locked into a prison with a bunch of men, knowing my past, knowing that I've been to jail before, knowing I don't like being locked up in a situation and confined to spaces. He came to me and he goes, hey, what do you think about serving on a men's weekend retreat in a prison? I said, when? He told me the date, and the first words that came out of my mouth were, I'm in. He kind of gave me a look like, what? And he came back and called me and goes, hey, man, I want what you have. And I said, well, what is it that I have that you want? Like, what is it that I'm doing that you want? And you said to me, the fact that you just said yes to locking yourself away in a prison without question, without concern, you just said, I'm in. What was my reason for telling you I was in, though?
Because it wasn't me who was asking you, it was God asking you. Verbatim, you said that. It said, not you asking me, it's God asking me.
Yeah. First words out of my mouth when you said, why did you say yes? I said, because it's not you. You're just a vessel, bro. You are the vessel to my higher power that is telling me I need to be on this weekend for some reason.
And again, there are people out there that may not believe in God, but even just simply getting outside of yourself is the key to pulling out of your current situation where you view yourself as a failure. And by the way, you're not a failure. I'm going to say it one more time. You are not a failure. Again, this is a redirection and an opportunity to grow and go serve other people and use your experiences and your mistakes to share what not to do, what to do, and to really maybe help somebody pull out of their own pit. Absolutely.
Something I want to throw out there real quick to all of you is like, comment, subscribe. Comment on some of these things that we're talking about because we'd love to talk with you. If you're having questions about some of the things we're talking about, please reach out, comment to us. We'd love to hear from you so maybe we can help you fix this redirect. When I was in my pit of despair, it's not like I just said, okay, God is my power, I'm going to change. What it came to a point for me is I was tired. I was sick and tired of feeling the way I felt. And I had tried drugs. I had tried counseling. And when I say drugs, I mean pharmaceutical prescription drugs for depression.
Oh, yeah.
The thing I didn't like about those drugs is they made me feel even worse than I did without them.
And sometimes drugs are okay for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was on them too, and I didn't like them either.
It affects everybody different.
Yeah.
For me, I was a kid at 2 years old, or in second grade, sorry, not 2 years old. Second grade, and they wanted to put me on Ritalin because I was ADD. You know, then they're putting me on antidepressants when I'm 14 years old and wondering why I'm all over the place. You know, the drugs didn't help me, and they do help some. But for me, it just made me feel worse. So I had to find other ways to deal with my problems. I had to find other ways to deal with my attention abilities and paying attention. I had to find ways to deal with my depression. And when I started down this journey of fixing my perspective, none of it was God-based. It wasn't, because me and God weren't on good terms. Him and I were butting heads.
Well, you weren't on good terms with yourself either, neither was I.
And that's what I was going to say is, I came out of it not because of God, because I found something I wanted better than what I had.
So what's the call to action to kind of bring this home for everybody, Josh?
The call to action is to look at something bigger than yourself. Stop looking at yourself as a failure. Stop looking at yourself as the problem. Stop looking at yourself as the issue. Start looking at yourself as someone who needs to make some changes to change the direction of their life. I work with guys all the time in the construction industry that come to me that don't have jobs. I mean, it's the stereotypical thing for construction. It is. Guys that don't have licenses, they're addicts, they're alcoholics, they're in and out of jail. And, you know, I like those guys. Why? I like broken people, because broken people have a drive that most people don't realize. They do. They've gone as far as they have broken, and they've made it that far, which shows resilience.
And they're broken and beautiful, right?
You're never ugly when you're broken. You're only waiting for someone to help bring you out of that broken pit.
So if there's something in your life that you've given up on, again, just consider this. You're being redirected again for something greater in your life. Again, this is Finding Hope in a Suffering Society, where we're here to try to help you find the beauty
in the darkness.
I'm Rob.
I'm Josh.
We love you, and you're never
alone.
See you in the next video.